Why, hello, love. Today we're going to be talking about cells and functions part 2. And we're going to be talking about macromolecules, the building blocks of everything. So, first we're going to talk about the composition. We've got 4 macromolecules that we're going to be talking about today. We got the carbohydrates, we got the lipids, the proteins, and the nucleic acid. Now, all of these things are made up of chenops, which are the key elements, which is carbon, hydrogen, nitrogen, oxygen, phosphorus, and sulfur. Okay, so start looking at the carbohydrates. They store energy and provide shape to organisms. So they are the building blocks are going to be monosaccharides. Talking about monos 1, saccharides going to be talking about sugars. And then we have many of those put together are going to be polysaccharides, or many sugars, known as complex sugars. Well, examples in the human body, we got glycogen, which is a polysaccharide, and it stores energy in the liver of animals. And then we got sugars as in food. So we got the monosaccharides that are easily broken down for quick energy, such as your candy bars. And then we got disaccharides, which are going to be 2 sugars pushed together. And then we got polysaccharides, again, the many saccharides. Okay, so again, we got the simple sugars, or the monosaccharide, disugars, 2 saccharides, and then our polysaccharides, which are going to be our starches and complex sugars. So when we look at these, we see our monosaccharides are the building blocks. We got our glucose, which is our simple candy and sugars. We've got our fructose, which is the sugar that comes from fruits. And we have our ribose, which is used in DNA and RNA in their nucleotide. Then we've got our disaccharides, 2 sugars, which form sucralose, which you all know as table sugar that is made from glucose and fructose. And then we have lactose, which is milk sugar, which is glucose and galactose together. And then we have our polysaccharides, which are going to be 3 or more monosaccharides put together, and that's glycogen found in animals and cellulose found in plants. Now, you've heard a lot of oses. We got glucose, we got ribose, we got fructose, sucrose, lactose. Anything that ends in ose is going to mean sugar, baby. So, next we're going to move on to some proteins. There are the structures in our hair, our nails, which is going to be keratin. We've got actin and myosin in our muscle tissues, and we've got collagen in our skin that helps us stretch. We also have hormone regulation. We've got insulin in the blood glucose level, and then we have our immune system. We use antibodies to protect us against foreign invaders. We also have oxygen transport, such as the hemoglobin, then the enzymes, such as amylase, which is in the mouth that helps break down our food. We've got lactase, which breaks down lactose, and then we've got lipase that breaks down lipids. So, again, proteins. The structure is always going to contain carbon, hydrogen, nitrogen, and oxygen. The building blocks of proteins are going to be amino acids. Now, there are a whole bunch of different amino acids, and they can be combined in any different way. So, how we combine these things is with a peptide bond, also sometimes known as a polypeptide bond. And we connect amino acid chains. Now, we have a chain right here, which is going to be our primary structure. Then, depending on how that chain folds, if it folds in on itself, then we got beta-pleated sheets. But if it curls around, that's going to be our alpha helixes. So our beta-pleated sheets and alpha helixes are going to be our secondary protein structures. Now, when we combine a beta-pleated sheet and then we curl it right afterwards, but it's still the same strand or the same chain, that's going to be our tertiary protein. Now, when we start adding multiple chains together, that's when we get our quaternary protein, or multiple chains added together. So, structural proteins is going to be our hair, which said keratin, our fingernails is keratin, our skin is going to be collagen. Muscles, we got myosin. Cartilage, we've got glycoproteins, which are proteins attached to those carbohydrates that we just talked about. Then we've got ligaments, which are collagen plus a glycoprotein. And then we've got our eye cornea, which is going to be collagen and keratin combined. Now, lipids. Lipids are for long-term storage. They include the fats, the oils, the steroids, and the waxes. They're made up of a head and then fatty acid tail. Now, this head could be many different things. It could be a phosphate head, which makes it a phospholipid. Or it could be a glycerol head, which makes it a glyceride lipid. And then, talking about our lipids, talking about our fatty acid chain, We got two types we can have. We can have a saturated fatty acid chain, which is going to be straight. It's got no double bonds, so we're going to be straight right here. You can think of it as that if you take a towel and you saturate it with water, it's just going to hang straight down. Then we've got our unsaturated fatty acids, which contain double bonds, which creates kinks, such as a kink here, and a kink here, and another one here, and again a kink right here. So, if you see a fatty acid that has a kink, that's going to be unsaturated. But if it's straight, it's going to be saturated. So, I told you about the phospholipids earlier, and these compose the cell membrane, which is a big thing. Now, we have a hydrophilic head, which means hydrophilic means water-loving, so it can touch water. And then we have these hydrophobic tails. Well, the membrane is going to be a bilayer having two layers, and the tails come in on the inside. So the heads can touch water, but the tails cannot. So it creates a good barrier where water can be on this side and water can be on this side, but it can't go through the middle. Again, a good barrier for the cell. Triglycerides are made up of a glycerol and fatty acid. They store in the adipose tissues of animal cells, in animals, and they are more energy than protein and carbohydrates combined. Now, how do we get triglycerides? Well, in this illustration here, we take a glycerol and we take 3 fatty acids, and we combine them. Well, when we combine them, this H and this H and this O have to come out as water. So we get a triglyceride and 3 water molecules. Now, steroids. Steroids, such as cholesterol, regulate the sodium in the blood. And then we have things like anabolic steroids, which increase testosterone or deal with the hormones. And we'll see about those later. Then we've got our DNA and nucleic acids. So when we talk about the nucleic acids, we're talking about DNA and RNA. They are the chemical makeup of the body, control the activity of the cell, and they carry our genetic code. Now, the RNA is made from the DNA, and it helps in creating proteins. Now, building blocks of nucleic acids is going to be a nucleotide. And a nucleotide has 3 parts. It's got a phosphate, a sugar, and a base. Now, depending on what sugar that is, it's going to depend on if it's DNA or RNA. If it's deoxyribose sugar, then it's going to be DNA, deoxy for DNA. Now, if it's a ribose sugar, then it's going to be RNA, ribose for RNA. The other thing is the bases. We have 5 bases, 4 in DNA, and then we take one away and add a new one for RNA. Now, in DNA, we've got thymine, adenine, cytosine, and guanine. Now, when we switch to RNA, we have a uracil instead of the thymine. Big thing about DNA is that it's double-stranded. Here, it creates a double helix. But RNA is only single-stranded. Well, that's all I got for you today. Bye.